Hold on one sec.
Okay, we're ready. Thank you.
I normally hear the words recording.
It was. It's a really short meeting today.
All right, motion to adjourn? No. Jokes for the record. Opening prayer, so Lord, would you please sign?
Okay, go ahead and say a prayer for us. Dear Lord Jesus, to you, thank you for this day, for allowing us all to be here together today. The board and the staff members help us to carefully look at the issues, make wise decisions. Bless all the people here, protect them and guide them. In Jesus' name, amen.
And brief announcement, as always, the meeting minutes for the public and for the record can be found at www.frwmb.gov. Attendance, please.
Clayton Mack,
Here.
Roger Noble, here. George McLeod,
Here.
Jordan Sneeze,
Here.
Ken Pitt.
Here.
And for the record, Shane Henderson is absent.
Thank you. Any potential conflicts of interest with this agenda today, Ken? No. George?
No.
Roger?
No.
And none for me, thank you. Meeting minutes for 9/12 of 24. Stop them, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the September 12th meeting minutes.
Motion by George,
I'll second it.
second by George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None approved. Public comments for items not on the agenda, so I don't see any physical public here, any public online.
If anyone online would like to make a public comment, raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. See no public comment?
Comment at this time. Roger, did you have?
Yeah, I guess we jumped over adopt the agenda.
Oh, okay.
But in adopting the agenda, in reviewing our packet of stuff relative to insurance, I found that we're not in compliance with our funding agreement. And so I would like to add I would add 3.3 with regarding general liability insurance coverage and push the 3.3 to 3.4.
Thank you for catching that. We need to adopt the agenda, so we have a proposal for an amendment to the agenda to make 3.3, 3.4 and add a 3.3. And what would you call that?
I was calling that general liability insurance coverage. Since we're talking about insurance, I can.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or suggestions? the agenda. Thanks for catching that, yeah, I jumped right over that. Hearing none, take a motion to approve or deny the request for the agenda amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the request for amendment to 3.3.
Motion by George,
Second.
second by Ken, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Hearing none. Is the agenda and public comment. Move for business for resolution amendment. Resolution number 01. Okay, as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I can start this conversation. My understanding is that there are some board members that might have some collaborative edits as well, but I can get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
So you all received edits from me last week, to resolution number 1. I apologize, about the track changes. There are a lot of them, which is why I sent you a clean version, so that you could read through it and then look to the track changes version to see what was actually changed. For the purposes of the discussion here, we use the track changes one so that we can just adopt and change, with that. The reason why, there are so many track changes is because now we have the finance personnel. And so in discussion and conversations with finance personnel, some edits were made to this document. So hopefully it captures what the board is looking for with the creation of that finance personnel. Are there any questions or comments initially out the gate? We can just go right through.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just cleaned up the purpose section, mainly just moving around some words. And then, what was that?
Do you want me to?
Keep it with the track changes, please. Yeah, so we can just accept or change if we need to.
Okay.
And then I added in a bullet for, describing the roles and responsibilities of the finance personnel, so. Any comments on the purpose section? We can accept those, James. Thank you. All right. So background, same thing, just went through, made sure wording was in line with some of our procedures that we've already adopted. Any sort of citations to things are in line. Switched around, tribes and state references throughout the document, so hopefully that helps.
Why?
Hmm?
Why?
There was a comment received from, I believe, a board member or two, wishing to have that, so it doesn't change any sort of importance.
You asked why about what?
Oh, sorry?
Your question was why?
Yeah, why did we change tribe status? Doesn't make a real difference to me. I was just curious.
Yep.
I mean, it's fine.
Um,
Have an inquiring mind.
which is always good. So that's essentially the background. I mean, James, if you want to scroll down through the whole thing, just so that they can see it, I think that's just at least one more paragraph here. Yeah, it's the last one. So I just added in that last sentence, just to state, you know, essentially where the finance personnel falls. So, I mean, they are technically considered staff, but they'll report to and receive direction from the board, and she'll have authority over the day-to-day financial operations of the board and the OE.
So I kind of disagree on that one, because I went back and looked at the letter that George and I had written, and also, the letter that went to the staff, and it specifically states that we're putting the financial team under the board. And so I'm concerned that there may be, we want that to be an independent entity. And so I'm concerned if it remains under the office of the engineer, there may be some potential conflict.
So the reason why I put that on there is
And
because,
really, everybody is an employee of the board.
correct. The reason why that was made was because their position descriptions are Office of the Engineer position descriptions, not Flathead Reservation Water Management Board descriptions. So until those are changed, that can then become employees of the board. But I was going off of how they were hired.
Okay, so that you bring up a good point then. So then should we change those PDs?
Yes,
Because technically they are board employees, not OE employees.
yep, and that discussion, I'm just still waiting on some edits for, so.
Okay, so I guess, you know, at some point then.
One of the things that came up at our last discussion had to do, at least in part, was just the, even the communications. So there needs to continue to be a way for staff to communicate with Ethan. So somehow we need to make sure that line of communication is clear. Even if they're communicating with us, they're also required to communicate with him and vice versa. So I'm not sure where you want that to land. How you want it to be structured.
Well, I guess for now, until we revise that other stuff, I can try to go with this. This would be my suggestion.
This being,
Haley's got it here.
If the intention is to alter the position descriptions and essentially house the individuals under the board rather than the Office of the Engineer, then we can make that change reflected here. And then the position descriptions, which don't have to go through board action or a meeting, can be done after this.
Okay, so
So,
then I think we should make that change, because we want the finance personnel to definitely be able to independently do their work.
I get that, but I think that they can under this language. Is there some reason you think they can't under this language?
Well,
Shall report to and receive direction from the board.
that's okay.
I mean, it's just a question of understanding.
that is why I added that language in there, was to make it clear that any sort of tasks that those employees are doing or carrying out are directly from the board.
Yeah, that's the way it is gonna be structured. I don't think. Just want to make sure we have that demarcation.
And the way for us to do that is through our financial policies.
Yeah, and hopefully, as we kind of get down through the document where we actually, flush out the roles of the finance personnel, it makes it clear that there really isn't a whole lot of direction that they're receiving, or really any direction they're receiving from the engineer himself. It's more so from the board, and then they carry out through kind of just like a sole operation.
Yeah, it's always a you know, as we're building this in progress, I'm kind of familiar with. Thirdly, I mean, I think even at the state level, familiar with similar types of operations, we're familiar with that kind of operation. And tribal council, for example, oversees our administration and finance and personnel. There's certain ones that understand correctly. But everyone has to comply with all of the financial, administrative, personnel policies. So that everyone is in sync that way. So
Right.
that while on separate personnel policies, everyone has to comply with those. You know, there are separate financial policies and oversight, everyone has to comply with those. Including the board, so, you know.
That was, I guess you bring up a good point. I mean, that was my intention here, was so that although they don't receive direction from the engineer, those employees would still fall under the Office of the Engineer personnel policies. The board operates under the bylaws, not the personnel policies. Now, there are some things that we flesh out for the board, as in like travel reimbursement and such, in the personnel policies, but really that's a staff guidance document. And so if we don't have them included within the Office of the Engineer as staff, then we'd have to create our own kind of personnel policies for those employees, or try and hook them into the bylaws.
And then they really are standing.
And if that's the direction you guys want to go, then that's fine. We can do that. I think we just need to have that conversation now.
Yeah. So is that,
Oh, I think let's give this a shot, and see how it goes.
I
think your explanation is good.
Okay.
For other board members, you guys
I'm good with it.
tracking, good?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, unless there were any other questions in the background section. That was pretty much the biggest change, was adding that, those employees in there. Okay. So this is where it gets, starts to get all over the place with my track changes, so bear with me. Okay, so I just want to give a quick overview of this fiscal authority granted section. So there's the first section, which grants the engineer authorities. And so essentially those are aligned with like what's under the funding agreement and how the board wants to have the engineers assume some of those roles, carrying out that. Basically not like coming up with the budget or reporting the budget to the board, but there is still responsibilities under that that the engineer has to carry out. So that's this section. After that, it gets into the finance personnel. So what the board is going to grant authority for to those employees. So that's kind of how it's broken out. Track changes makes it look really long, but I had to rearrange and delete quite a bit, so. First one was in there before, but I kind of tweaked the language, so authority to enter into board-approved contracts and agreements. And then I also put in here a line of communication, how we were just discussing that, where the engineer shall communicate directly with finance when entering into such contracts and agreements. That way there is that clear establishment of record keeping.
Can I suggest where it says the engineer shall communicate to add and coordinate? And I know it may be implied by communicating, but to me, that's a little more, well, that has a different connotation. Because I think while, you know, other employees, they have authority and responsibility to recommend contract or buy things, spend money. We need to coordinate to make sure that everything is well within the budget and the budget process. So coordination means that to me. That
I like it.
makes sense?
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to change paragraph 2 also.
Oh, yeah, add it in there too. Yep. Good catch.
Before we move paragraph 1 though, so we have a revised PD in front of us for the finance person. And so right up here, it says just finance. So I'm wondering, maybe this would be a time to give that a designation. So we could call it finance director or comptroller, or whatever you want to call it, but maybe this is.
Yeah.
We could make that change and then we have our
It would be great.
kitty going.
It would be great. I dubbed it finance personnel up above and then in parentheses put finance throughout the whole document. But yes, this would be a great time to decide on a term.
Uh-huh.
What should be,
My suggestion is finance director. Is it finance director?
Okay.
Unless somebody's got a better one.
So that's just for the one individual?
Person,
Okay, so what would you call like the group then? Like if there's
Well,
multiple
really, it's the
employees?
finance director that's going to be reporting, then anybody under that person. Finance team or whatever.
finance director implies this probably, but I was thinking of budget.
Fine, yeah. Even better, it's more expensive.
I feel, because then really directly tied to the budget process.
Do these titles have any specific correlation from a personnel standpoint? Like, if you call someone one thing, it attaches to this pay rate, and I mean, do we have to be careful of that? And I don't know beans about this, so I don't know what our options are, but if director works, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, so where it comes up would be like exempt and non-exempt employee status. So once you start getting into like manager, director, CEO, CFO, anything like that, it starts to get into that. Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So that would need to be worked out with that employee as well. I mean, because they might not want to be an exempt employee.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Well, I get what you just said. But if that's the kind of position we want,
Yep.
how do we balance that with an employee who doesn't want it? That's what we want.
Yeah, I mean, if that's where you're gonna go, and if that type of position is listed as an exempt type position, because there are certain statutes that do list that out. I can't remember the actual MCA citation for it, but, then that position would technically need to just remain open until filled.
Make that happen.
Yeah.
You raised the point, so I just wanted to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, and that's really the only context of where that terminology would probably be an issue, but.
You know, it makes sense, and from a personnel standpoint, we really do need a evaluation position. Then has implications for things like, yes, we can define it however it's possible. My employees should not get compounded. That's something you talk about. And I don't know if that's defined yet, but we need to probably get to that one too.
Yeah, that policy is still up in the air for board consideration. Exempt and non-exempt was discussed briefly. And so, for example, like the engineer is clearly an exempt employee. But that's actually in personnel policies. Those haven't been actually approved though, by the board. But yeah, it would come up in terms of comp time, reimbursement, anything like that, sick pay, leave.
Is an exempt employee synonymous with a salaried employee? Do those mean the same thing?
I will say in practice, I've only seen it that way, but I don't think legally it has to.
And I guess just tearing off of that, then we may also need to develop an expectation for hours for a salaried employee.
Well, then. So we need to carve out and talk. I don't know if now's the time. Do we found
I would
exempt employees don't necessarily equate with being salaried.
Right.
Okay,
But there are And I think the organization needs to make that clear. I can go into stories about how I have observed exempt employees in organizations assume that they're salaried and treat themselves that way when they are
Ah,
not, salaried employees.
mhm,
But a salaried employee is almost always called exempt,
okay,
the other way around.
gotcha.
So, but exempt, while it might, or it might, if we said, does not qualify for comp time or overtime. If we're going to say that person is not salaried, then they need to comply with all of the leave benefits.
Okay,
If they're earning leave before you can take it, then you have to get approval to take leave. Those kind of things.
Sure.
So that's going a little further than this conversation, but yeah.
I do. So I was thinking maybe we should make that an agenda item for the next meeting.
Sure.
okay,
For that or personnel policy, you guys,
But with
with a priority on that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a couple sections that kind of deal with that, area, like the comp time, exempt, non-exempt, that we should probably flesh it out. It's a good idea.
Continuing on.
So before we leave this, if you're gonna. Shall be employees, is that singular or is?
Well, that's why I was asking if, what we wanted to call the group, because
Yeah.
as I've been informed, there are 2 employees that would be within this team, group, whatever we want to call it. So I just need to know what we want to term that group.
well, I liked your suggestion, budget and finance, right? Budget and finance team with a budget and finance director.
I think maybe we have to see how this evolves. Maybe, right now, it's such a massive undertaking to get this budget together and get all of our finances back in order. So we've got a team, but maybe once it's done, then one person goes back to the position they held previously. So that's fine.
Okay.
I don't know what the demand of that is gonna, start working for people, so
Right.
just.
Well, one of the. I don't know when you want to talk about it, or on that point. We should probably hear out. First, we want to have that conversation where we give a recommendation, because there may be a need for a continuing person. It's temporary, then we can designate someone to assist in a temporary fashion. And not have to leave their current position. It's permanent, and we may be creating a separate position and division like this. But it's something, we do, just a thought, I might want to have that conversation with staff as well, just help us, give us input.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of like the idea.
Do that.
I'm sorry. I like the idea of leaving it plural though, because our organization is growing up and as it matures, these new job roles expand. And by leaving it that way, you leave the door open. If you do need to put on an additional person, you can, right? So,
No, like that, I read my mind.
Well, hold on, so
Yeah, so that can change the team then to correct.
This is where.
We need to define that so we can move forward with that GD.
all right, well then delete finance personnel and take those out of parentheses then, right?
That would fit.
Take that all out there.
That's my understanding, is that we're moving away from that.
Yes.
Okay, that needs to be Shelby and employee.
So we took out the plurality.
Oh, really?
No, it's still there?
Yeah.
Okay. I need more coffee.
Huh?
I'm just gonna stop on there.
Okay. All right, so yeah, we were on 1 and 2. So we'll need to change the references then to finance.
Yeah.
We can do director in parentheses. I mean, if,
Director works.
yeah, okay. You might want to copy and paste it. So you don't have to type it every single time. Okay, so yeah, it's in 1. Yep, okay. That's in 2. Let's hold off there.
In the first one, you have to put in the director.
So we were on 1 and 2. Were there any other questions on those ones?
That's me.
Yeah. Well,
So just a comment here, as you can see, there's 5,000, that went from 3,000 to 5,000. And that was at the recommendation of Tina Begay. So she said that's what's the common number used.
Say it again, what are we looking at?
So this $5,000 number used to be $3,000.
Okay.
And so Tina Begay recommended we use 5,000 instead of 3,000. Now, so that's up to board's decision. Discrepancy.
Yeah,
What was
well,
the,
thank you for bringing that up.
what was the reasoning?
It's industry standard,
Oh,
essentially.
The Department of Water Resources that goes with that guideline
Okay.
on financing
Okay.
the budget.
Is there,
Good to know.
is there a state equivalent?
Ooh, yeah. And I mean, trying to access the mom that the state calls it is really difficult. Unless you know somebody who could just give you the manual. Yeah.
I wanna ask.
So I guess it's more consistent with.
Yeah.
You know, yeah,
We don't have to change it.
Yeah.
Explain.
yeah, no, one thing, I mean, you at 3,000, whichever it is. As long as expenditures are coordinated through the finance team so that the budget is remains sound. Because even if they have the authority, you know, the money, they shouldn't do it. That's what, it's 3,000, I would can, it's just, even at 3,000, depending on the budget situation, so that applies. Otherwise, 5 is fine with me,
And like that, one of the other deals on the 5,000 limit is if someone's buying something over 5,000, they need 3 estimates. If it's under 5,000, they can use a regular vendor. But if it's over, then they want to have 3 estimates.
Oh, that's
That's what that-
organization.
Would do it.
Okay.
well, there,
And also to try.
yeah, there's ways that, I mean, we should define that. That's not, that process is not defined because, yeah, it's. And then if it goes beyond another amount, they're supposed to get quotes. You, the estimate, get a phone call, it's not easy done. Anything will be done greater amount, say, $15. Yeah, you're right. Then you gotta get quotes. Now, I'm not saying to do that, but those are also practices that are,
There is a section later on, called efficient sourcing. We could add maybe a little bit of language like that to that little section. Cause it talks about sourcing local first, for costs and then outsourcing if we can't find anything local. That's, I like that one.
so, 5.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So 3 and 4 were just the deletions of, or my, like edits of 1 and 2, so that can go, James. 3 and 4. Yeah. Okay, so I deleted 3, that's now, entirely housed under the budget and finance, director, which you'll see later on. Mainly thinking that because that's where the credit cards are gonna be kept, is with those personnel, that they'll be the ones assigning the purchasing power.
Can you do a global replace?
Well, this is where finance needs to be replacing on that.
No.
Yeah.
No, we do global replacement.
You should be able to. Yeah,
I've never done that.
no, I mean, the only thing I have is financial or something like that, but will it replace financial? I hope not. I think we're good.
Other side note, not on this language, is that we've been trying to get the signature. Can you go ahead for 1 second? And so we're trying to get the signature lines figured out, so at the moment, we're talking about, so let's make sure we're really clear about who is going to be on the signature authorities, and then just remind everybody that we still need to finish signatures. We've done this once or twice, but because we've changed a couple times, every time we change, they're requiring everyone to resign. So where do we stand right now?
So right now, signature authority stands with Roger, yourself, and Ethan. And so the suggestion with the new structure of this would be that Ethan would no longer have signature authority, but he would have contracts and the ability to use his credit card up to 5,000. And then we would add finance and whoever encompasses that to the 50 accounts. So it would be Roger, yourself, and me, and then if you wanted further signers on that.
We're talking about potentially, we're not really sure of that position would come in at temporary. Okay, so with other signatories.
I think that's sufficient.
We want so given that, you go to the bank and sign a card, and I'll do that. Probably too late for the day, so we'll probably do it tomorrow. All right. Thanks for the intermission.
Number 3, this is essentially, listing out I think what we had talked about just briefly a while back on wanting to still have the engineer kind of be the interface for the funding agreement with the compacting parties. And so that's getting at that, where the engineer can request financial documents from budget and finance to then communicate with the compacting parties for the funding agreement.
You had nods. Okay.
Okay, yeah, this is just where it gets wonky with deletions, so, it's just allowing the engineer to use the OE assigned credit card, for expenditures. And then all expenditures may already be approved by and reported to the director, so again, just making sure that there is that documentation for expenditures and that receipts are provided for all expenditures.
I really like this updated language. You know, I've worked for a lot of different organizations, and I think we're now seeing language that mirrors what I've seen, where you have that separation and that accountability. So this is really good.
Just deleted the budget reports, because now that's fully within the budget and finance, team to provide that, at, or on the agenda under that, whatever it's called, whatever we're calling it, budget update. Yeah, budget updates.
Wherever or however we put it in, want to make sure that the office of engineer and staff also on any less financial.
Like just documentation in general.
Yeah.
Okay, that is under the next section, or it should be, hopefully. At least I remember typing it, but, I was deletion happy when I did this, so.
That's fine, no, that's fine, I just wanted, it just came to mind and reading this.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, again, the budget responsibilities are falling under the budget and finance director now, so balancing of the budgets is no longer an engineer responsibility. It's just taking that out. And then this language was in here prior to, I mean, I just cleaned it up.
We really part of it.
I don't believe we do, but I believe that, in conversations with Rhonda, we wanted to keep it an option throughout here to potentially get one if we needed to. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of Roger's comment.
Do we have a debit card?
No, we do not, and it is my desire to get a debit card for use for bill pay.
It is,
It is my desire, yes, but that would be at your guys' direction.
okay,
Right now, the majority of our bill pay goes on the credit cards. Well, very few things are through check at this point.
see, question mark over my head, because we had a debit card.
And then when we did the transition and you authorized myself to use the chair credit card, that debit card was canceled. I still have the debit card, but it's been terminated.
Now you won't.
Yes. I would like to have one that would operate as a direct deduction from our checking account within some parameters. It would just be a lot easier for bill pay and accountability within QuickBooks.
So that just gets to the question about credit slash debit card.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Rhonda?
We might for the next section, so just because it gets at where you're working.
Sure.
James, up above where director is underlined in blue. It needs to be the director. Same with the board hereby grants the director with the following authority. Okay. All right, so yeah, this is the, I guess, counter to the previous section, but now it's defining what authority the budget and finance team has.
And in relation to the debit cards for the OE, it was my thought that maybe he would just stick with the credit card and so maybe take out the debit card there. Is that kind of doable?
Why?
So, the one contamination, the wording there has the language credit debit card. We only outlined above the use of credit card, the language using just the credit card. So maybe we should take out debit card in that paragraph to equal what we've already outlined above.
Well, just it's debit slash.
So do you want it taken out from number 2 also?
No.
Okay.
That's falls under the finance.
Yeah, this, now this enumeration is all over the budget and finance, yep. I mean, just going through, this is what we were just talking about, designated signatories on the board's bank accounts. So we just talked through that. I would prefer to leave it open, to maybe adding another just down the road in case it does happen, where we do need to add a second budget and finance individual onto the board account. So for now, obviously, it's just gonna be one, but it's better to leave that a little bit broad.
We are as board authorizing what signatories we want from the council. What is number one?
That they are a designated signatory on the board bank account. And we could probably put it as like board designated, like hyphenated.
You know, I just. Your explanation is fine, but yeah, we can add word and not, whatever you guys want.
Yeah, now's a chance to make suggestions.
Thoughts?
I'm okay.
Looks good.
Well,
We'll just make it a lowercase d. Yeah, thank you. Two, obtain and use credit debit cards, that we kind of just touched on too. Maybe leaving in a possibility to obtain a debit card for whatever they need. Three, I mean, Rhonda, you're probably better at describing what a
Sure.
program administrator means.
So number 3 is the program administrator on the credit card, which is the OE card and the chair card. And then it would also allow us to connect online banking profiles within QuickBooks if I am program administrator. So It's basically the ability to see all the statements, to, make any changes needed to the card. And there can be more than one program administrator, so if anybody within the board wants to join me on that, that's totally acceptable too. We can.
It's capitalizes program administrator means something to us or the bank.
Just to Glacier Bank. Glacier Bank titles the program administrator as an actual function with certain approvals.
It's kind of necessary. to have that.
Right now, the OE is the only one that has program administrator functions. And so, we cannot link it up in QuickBooks at this point.
Will that designation for you, for example, require us to do anything more with the bank?
Yes, it requires an email. I have sent it out to you and Roger. It requires an email stating out how the designation has to happen to, can't remember the department. I think they call it the Treasury Department, but that doesn't sound right, but, that was sent to you guys last week. It's probably very low on the list to do at this point.
Okay, I don't recall it in, but, you know, there's something, if that's something you need to do, just flag us on that. Roles.
Sure. And my apologies if you didn't get it, because, I totally thought I sent it out.
I would just resend it.
Okay.
1 through 3 makes sense.
Yes.
So 4 is just, again, like a counter to above, but this time it's allowing the budget finance team to write checks, make payments, authorize expenditures using the credit card, with the $5,000 amount now.
Should that have? I'm kind of confused why some places were saying debit card and other ones were not.
We actually have like a board credit card right now. That was the thought, but yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go for credit or debit card for the finance group, then we could just be consistent throughout. Again, just. Yeah, thanks, Jim. And then the director. Granting the authority to assign, purchasing power.
It's always gonna be a third.
Are you gonna actually sign out debit cards though to staff, or were you just gonna use that for like your quick?
Yeah,
pay?
I probably, it would just be credit card.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it goes generally without saying. But somewhere in. The purpose or the goal or somewhere, I think we should. Just outright refer to. Not overspending the budget, but we cannot get us spending. Something like. Never would have put it, but somehow we need to put that in.
Yeah.
11 maybe?
No, we have some language in the background of like where things, like the purpose of why we're even writing these policies. But we can add just
If it's
like,
covered.
it is very loosely. I mean, we can add, you know, a clarifying sentence to state that. I think that's a good point.
I love short sentences. Yay.
I don't like it.
You have directed there twice.
Oh, finance, that's why.
Good catch.
To me, that just means, you know, at some point when we're trying to buy something or spend money, if we don't have the money, we can't do it. Not go. Start spending.
Grammatically, I don't like it.
What's wrong with it? Shall not, or shall not.
Which means we have to also pay our credit card balances. Okay, so that we're not doing fines. Anyway, that's just.
So, right now, it's currently set up that, the balance on the credit cards is completely paid each cycle, so that we do not hold any, debt over.
Scroll down just a touch, so that you can see 6 and 7 right there, okay. So I think 6 gets at what you mentioned earlier about accessing necessary financial and personnel documents. Hopefully.
So what is a subscription service?
Well, most of our technical, I couldn't say technical, technological stuff, so your Esri, your Adobe, all that now is
Oh.
subscription based. And then it would also probably fall into the category of now we have auto insurance. Will be considered almost like a subscription type service.
Whereas it used to be a magazine, newspaper.
The Reader's
now-
Digest and People.
Now it's electronic.
Oh, I see.
You wanna have a piece of software, you used to be able to buy the software and load it on your computer and run it. Now you buy the key to open the software online and you pay for it monthly.
It's not a CD-ROM anymore.
What's that?
And what is this online stuff you're talking about?
So that's 4 through 7. Any questions?
Well, only that we need to somewhere in here have a minimum of monthly budget report.
Mhm.
So that we know where we stand in our funds.
Yeah,
Or be able to answer the board's in the moment. What do we have in accounts?
I think number 6 is.
there's also a standalone section farther down, in the resolution that pertains to monthly and then annual budget. Hopefully that gets at what you're mentioning, but if we need to tweak the monthly section, we can.
Language is there, it'll start to be more clear when we start to actually see the reports.
Yeah.
We can digest them better.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, that's the reality with a lot of this is until we actually have it evolve in practice, then we won't really know. So I think 4 through 7, we're comfortable with.
So I have one question on number 6. In my review of like the spending agreement and whatnot, I didn't see quarterly anywhere.
Yeah,
It's monthly and annual.
yeah, it's monthly annual for the funding agreement, but wasn't quarterly because of the actual like fiscal quarters?
I honestly would need to be able to answer that correctly. Quarterly is your payroll. And that would be for budgeting for payroll, if we needed to do an evaluation, but it's at your guys' request.
I'm good with that then, but which change yearly to annual?
All right, so we've got 3 more enumerated. So yeah, 8 just gets at, the ability to communicate with the contracted accountants, Tina. Regarding payroll, banking, direct deposits, reimbursements, and any other matter related to the board's accounts. Mainly because, it's my understanding in conversations with Rhonda that Tina is going to be acting as an oversight for Rhonda. So this allows for that communication line to be established.
See it?
Yes, she has full access as the accountant in QuickBooks. And so she will maintain in that role as long as you guys want to engage her to do such. And I like it because it provides checks and balances.
Okay, and then 9, which I kind of want to move or change with 8, just because I believe, what do we have for 6 or 7? Sorry. It kind of goes with 6. Yeah, I was supposed to pair with 6, so 6 gets at accessing the financial and personal documents for the purpose of the budget. But then scroll down, James, 9 gets at accessing those documents for the purpose of payroll, banking, direct deposits. So essentially like the personnel side of it. So I would suggest moving 9 under 6. Yes, as a new one after it.
You need to,
You know, line.
There we go.
you need to take the and off at the end.
Why don't you set that one then? Yeah, that way.
So I have a question.
Question?
On number 7, the need to access personnel documents. I know Ethan had talked about he had a place to store personnel documents. Will there be a duplicate file made for the finance team? Will there be one set of documents that everybody, both finance and Ethan access? Is that something we need to have? What are the mechanics of that?
Yeah. I mean, that's enough to, that you guys want to see that work out. I mean, it would probably make sense to have the personnel documents stored with the budget and finance team. For access to the engineer, he needs it for hiring decisions or anything like that. But in terms of like retention, it would make sense to have it with budget and finance, but it's up to your board.
But you were asking if there should be a duplicate set, and I think what we're talking about is it doesn't need to be a duplicate set, just where it was managed.
How to access it? Like, what if Ethan's here, not here, and he's the only one with the key? Or I'm just thinking day to day, how do you physically do that and where should it be? And I'm probably overthinking this right now, but
No, those, I mean, and it's a good point, personnel documents. So maybe somehow in there, we need to define personnel documents as something that are accessible on both. Mutually coordinated as such somehow.
And again, maybe I'm overthinking, but just sitting in this room, you know, we have cubicles that offer no real privacy, right? It's everybody can hear everybody else. So there might be a time where information has to be discussed that should not be, you know, you don't want to be sharing someone's social security number, or I don't know, I'm just thinking of what ifs. So how do you handle day-to-day needs for privacy, day-to-day needs for occasional private phone calls in an open space like this without telling everybody, you have to get out of here? Because everybody's trying to get their work done, right? So this is more of a question of just the physical space we're sitting in, but it has some real constraints. So everybody wants to get their work done. I'm sure each of you probably has needs for private conversations at times, but no one has a lid on their cubicle. So how do we navigate this? How do we help you navigate this?
That it has been an issue. And it feels like an uncomfortable topic, because yeah, I've had to request, you know, while I'm having conversations, can I have the room? And then that prevents anybody else that's here to get their work done. So that is a really big concern. I'm also really big on the employee records being kept confidential. So I do understand that we definitely need to limit, set the limits on who gets to access them, and also maintain that confidentiality for that employee. So it is a sensitive topic, and I would love some guidance going forward.
Yeah, just sitting here today in this room and I'm looking at this arrangement going, whoa, how do you guys do this? So, that's gotta be tough. Because we're gonna be in this building for some amount, and I know this is going beyond this right now, but when you're talking about personnel records, it's kind of a natural segue to this with regards to privacy. There's only one closed office in this structure, and only one person has access to that. So would the landlord allow any modification in here to create more separate office spaces? I'm trying to throw out solutions in addition to problems, but like, what would our lease allow us to do? Or is that something we could ask?
Well, short of that, we should ask and look into that. Short of that, we should explore, probably the best way to explore would be for staff. Keep them, the staff to look at that issue and recommend, make suggestions, operational suggestions, and how to manage that. Because even if we move that direction, I don't think that happens anytime soon. So until
Yeah,
unless we do something, we're gonna have to manage it anyway, so.
yeah. What's a
I think we
temporary?
could just have the staff. You guys are already trying to work something out, maybe not, but then might be good to.
So I
something
was-
else operationally.
Yeah, I was impressed with you guys, the way you took the bull by the horns when we decided to restructure the bid. You guys all joined in and cooperated and moved things around, figured out your own layout the way you wanted it. So do you guys have weekly staff meetings, or what do you do?
No, not really, nothing like a reoccurring staff meeting or anything like that, but a bigger suggestion.
You should have.
We can definitely sort something out, I think, that will work with staff to maybe if we know ahead of time when those conversations would happen, that would give us time to prepare and take the materials we need to work on without too much time out of this office. I think a good idea is to set up a workspace up in Ethan's office so that we could have another, a laptop space up there for someone to be able to work on water things.
So we do have a meeting table that's on order for Ethan's office, to expand that area upstairs. There's also, if we do know ahead of time, I'm also flexible to come in on a Friday when the office is empty, so we don't interrupt normal day-to-day business. And then, like James said, you know, if it's a short period of time, maybe we can just, you know, give a little bit of advance warning, so we can definitely work with it, what we have.
Yeah, I think maybe when you guys can get together, put your heads together and see what kind of solution you can. So that it works for you guys. We certainly.
That would be sort of the operational solution. The physical solution is if it's something that we want or need to really consider, then probably need to plan it, design it, and propose it. And be prepared to pay for it. Because that is, my guess is that much will change. Given the difficulty we had getting some of the other corrections made, like the heating and cooling.
Right, right.
Would raise similar concerns, I would imagine.
Well,
Of the, owner.
Yeah, I was thinking like, what if you had, I don't know. I'm sure like Roger suggested, you guys are all grown ups, you can figure out how to carve up your space. I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to micromanage you or anything. I'm just sitting in this space going, how would I function here? But I was just, even if you had a space that people could sign up for, like, I've got to have this conversation or that one, instead of each separate office, you'd have a room
Absolutely.
that somebody could use if they needed to.
Exactly, if we like know that, you know, we need 4 or 5 hours of, you know, private conversation space, you could always use my office, you know, close the door. You can just use that workspace and all four of them, those like, that works fine.
Cause I imagine, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at this org chart and you've got 3 empty positions, it looks like. There's gonna be more staff, and I'm sure if you're working with an applicant, there's probably information you can't broadcast in a big room, perhaps, I don't know.
Not so much, I mean, mostly what we do here is public record, so,
Okay,
it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be too much, private.
not much of a thing, okay.
But you're right, finance and personnel, which is probably.
Okay.
I think we'll just.
You'll figure it
each
out.
other and We'll figure it out, I
Okay.
think. I don't know how many hours we're suspecting it's gonna have to be in those situation, but, we'll just navigate that.
No, that's, Roger, the point, and I know what I would be doing, but, we need to just say that we recommend that there be at least weekly, if not bi-weekly, staff meetings to talk about all operational matters.
Yeah,
We have just to sit down and have a round-table discussion on all matters operational.
When I ran my business, Monday morning, 8:30, 9 o'clock, we had a staff meeting, so we could figure out where everybody was going, what needed to be covered, who had vehicle reserved, and all of those details, you know. So,
Yeah, and I think that's an absolutely great idea. We sort of been so piecemeal lately that we're constantly doing check-ins with each other and coordinating. It's less of a formal meeting and more of a constant bouncing around with each other. Just just like we have to.
gotcha.
Food for thought. Absolutely, I think it's very good.
right here, we're back.
This is.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I can see a soundproof room built right in that corner. Glass wall.
Just like a fish tank.
Tone of silence.
On of silent.
Big fish grill.
With the sign that says don't tap on the glass.
It was, so, no, I think we're just right, though, there is something that you guys get your heads together operational and work it out. If there's something you from us, I'll make that,
Right.
let us know.
Better way to put it.
Rather. Let it go out. You're not alone. You know, we're only here once in a while. You're not alone.
You guys are here quite often. Which is pretty cool.
Is it really?
It's great. I miss you guys in between the meetings.
Oh,
The only other one we didn't discuss was 10. This is where it gets at
mm.
moving the budget reports to the budget and finance team, so it's at the request of the board whenever, so if. You know, the board wanted to see at a meeting where there wasn't gonna be a budget report, they could ask for it whenever, and then. To the engineer for purposes of producing those reports to the compensating parties under the funding agreement.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, it was rewriting that kind of made it wonky, with the deletions, but, so that was, the first thing that was deleted was just about entering into contracts and agreements with conversation with Rhonda to delineate between the responsibilities, the engineer would be the one entering into the contracts and agreements, whereas the budget and finance team would be the one actually allowing for the purchasing power, documenting the purchase, or expenditures, anything like that, so that was deleted under the finance, or the budget and finance team. That was just a deletion, that's above, but, it was just a rewrite. A lot of these are just rewrites that ended up going all the way to the end of the section here, so, yeah, again, that's just replacing the 3,000 with the 5, which we've already discussed. That was just to change the language of the limiting purchasing power that was above. Same with the access and financial documents, this is all deletions from above. I think you have to accept that, like, 10 through 8. There you go. Not get rid of that extra space between 9 and 10. It'll do it. It'll do it, yeah. There you go. Okay, so I reworded this paragraph, hopefully to try it, make it a little bit more concise and clear. So the last sentence was what I deleted. Basically just saying that the director is to produce the budget, will balance the purchase expenses, income, appropriations and fees. And that they'll oversee payroll. Oh, thank you. And then the day-to-day administration of financial administration of board members, employees and staff. And then the last paragraph should essentially mirror the paragraph that was above for the engineer. It's just saying upon termination that they'll be removed from accounts, return credit, debit cards, such and such.
Yes,
Yes,
questions?
well, I did have a question. Why do we say board members, employees and staff?
Because they have to handle like your reimbursements when you are to go and you need mileage or food reimbursements or.
Well, I guess my point is, why are we saying employees and staff?
Oh, yeah.
We use that throughout the personnel policies,
Okay, that's fine.
just employees and or staff, capital staff, well, capital staff is defined in the ordinance. So it gets a little,
Okay,
wonky.
it's not, I was just
Or was
curious.
it
yeah,
just for maybe my own? Go back to the $5,000 limit. I'm always curious about that, even though it's only 5,000, the way it's written, there are no cycles on that. So some people 5,000 today, 5,000 tomorrow, 5,000 next day. Or whatever. It should be tied to necessary operational needs of the organization, and I'm not sure how to phrase that, if that's what's in my head. So I'm just throwing it out. You guys agree, don't agree, that's fine. It's just be
James has got it.
I absolutely agree that it needs site works. We weren't sure, when Haley and I were discussing this, what you guys would want.
I think it was more so that it was implied, but I do agree that flushing out is perfectly fine.
It's always
Yep.
implied, but I think.
Yep.
So that's. James just put something in, what do you guys think? You guys want more than that, less than that?
You want to define it further and say per item? 5,000 in total cost per item? Do you want to define it that much?
Well, I'm not sure if that means, because it'll define two things that are about.
Per transaction or per item?
Yeah, it just says five, and I don't know, again, I don't know if that means per day, per item.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that because you could buy 5 or 6 things at $499.99.
Mhm.
Yeah, right, yeah. Or even 5,000, not just
Yeah.
5,000.
I guess there's a thought that like, what if it's 5 standing desks? I mean, so then are you, like, could they not buy the 5 standing desks? They're gonna only buy, 1?
The following,
Well, you're just saying with like, well, if it's, 5 or 6 items to total 5,000, well, what if it's 5 standing desks? That is just under 5,000.
just all 5 of them together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I think the language would be transaction.
Yeah,
Per transaction.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just,
I guess Rhonda would probably know better about, I mean, what kind of expenditures are you entering into?
What we've been seeing lately, like the cubicle walls were $1,900, and if we would have done it all at once, it would have been bumping on that $5,000. So we were able to make that in the course of several transactions over the course of the last couple of months. It just really, the definition needs to be defined by you guys. One of the things is we see more need for the 5,000 versus the 3,000 for the purchasing of the canopy for the truck. Every one of those bids is over $3,100. I can't say per month seems to be, it might not possibly be enough, depending on what we're needing to do, but maybe per week, if you wanted to actually have a time frame. It's until we start seeing every different scenario, it's really hard to put the sideboards on that. And that's, you know, why I was left vague for you guys to put the sideboards on there.
Right.
Yeah, like going with per month, just because then, you know, the board's been meeting at least twice a month. So then if there is a cost over $5,000, then we'll have to, there'll be the ability to meet and approve it.
But this still means that the finance team could spend more than $5,000 per month. It can accumulate all the transactions that they get, right? Yeah. Or is this accumulating all the transactions together?
I'm just like, per vendor. Maybe it should say per vendor.
So it's per transaction. And then it'll be per month. So if there's something that goes over 5, it has to be board approved.
Individual transaction.
Right.
So the time frame doesn't necessarily make a difference because it's gonna have to get approved.
That was where I was thinking, was not putting a time on it. And defining what the actual, like,
Or, you know, we scratch market for the vendors.
what would you include in vendor though?
We find stuff. You're gonna go out and buy a topper that's over $5,000. Some field, it's over $5,000.
So regardless of what it is, if it's over 5,000, we have to come in front of the board. But let's say we're gonna, contract service with who put these cubicle walls up. If we're gonna, buy more things for them in that same month, and that will go over 5,000.
Yeah.
Then it has to be in front of the board.
I think that's what Roger's getting at.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to them.
Are the expenditures then, do they require within item number 4? Do they require multiple signatures?
So yes, farther down in the internal controls, we are wanting 2 signatures over $5,000.
For
He's meeting it.
item number 4. How many signatures?
1 up to 5,000 and then 2 over 5,000. Sorry, thanks for the clarification.
I'm just saying, even if we don't say per month, when these expenditures are made, you'll know.
Yeah. So
So to the extent that there becomes an issue, it should be reported, you know. If there's an apparent issue, it should be reported to us so that we can decide whether or not we want that to continue.
So the make payments is where I'm getting hung up per month, because we may have some issues there. We do know that, currently we have legal that exceeds that, and now moving forward, that's gonna require 2 signatures. Can we revisit the time frame once I have a better idea? Was that possible? Per vendor works for me, just the per month, I'm not sure how that's gonna.
You know, one thing that like the conservation districts do is they have right up front, in the front part of their meeting is the financial part. And they go over all of the invoices, and then they approve the invoices, the payment for invoices, right then and there. I don't know, maybe that's what we want to do. Maybe anything over 5,000, we.
$5,000 requires signatures, they send in anything. Well, what requires board approval?
Anything over 5,000.
You know, $5,000 requires board approval, so it's really on this issue right now that I'm thinking is. Just needed a little more sideboard than what it was, but, saying essential board or possibly engineer the business is a start. My, you know, even without the other language and the other concern, I mean, I worked with your staff and you trust everyone and we were going to do the right thing. I don't anticipate that this is going to happen, but you know, we want to set this up so that it's fair and to us and to staff. So even with all those sidebars, if they're doing somebody spending $5,000, and then we go spend another 5,000, and if it's third, and if it's fit under this language, if it is essential for the board, they would offer engineer business. It's good. Question is then at that point, if it isn't, what would you find? That's the question. If it isn't, what do you do?
You just have something to throw into this mix, but it says under make payment, the reason why I'm hesitating per month is because we're gonna have employee payroll that I'm gonna be executing. And that's gonna exceed the $5,000, and so maybe if you wanna break it into two different line items. That the monthly expenses would be your payroll, your quarterly reports, and some of those functions. And then what you guys are actually trying to outline is like a purchase from a store. So I think that maybe I'd be,
So we just said make payments other than personnel.
yeah,
In parentheses, huh?
personnel or contracts or,
Other than personnel and contracts.
Okay, you could also just do authority to write checks and authorize purchases and expenditures. Too. Yeah. Purchases and expenditures. You don't need that comma after write checks. Are you more comfortable with that, Rhonda?
yeah. And maybe an additional line item to have the ability to go and process payroll without board approval, because that is gonna be over the $5,000 threshold, just payroll. And for the reports.
It's up to the board. I don't see a need to line item that because it's inherent within your function, within your position description.
Sure.
That gets a little too nuanced maybe.
Okay.
But it's up to the board.
So is essential board or operation, well, office of engineer business, an adequate sideboard? Both costs per vendor.
I'm okay with the way it is written there.
Looks good.
it's not purchasing or
I'm not sure where that's going to fit. I'm reading it and it's gonna get us hung up with, find out. And we'll just have to revisit that if it does, so keep an eye on that, and
Will do.
it gets us hung up. You get hung up on it, let us know, we'll revisit that.
So just to check with your same language for evening.
Yeah, just as a reminder, the threshold for 5,000 for the engineer is to enter into contracts and agreements, not for purchases and expenditures.
Okay. I think we're saying good for now. And for the record, I think it's gonna hang itself somewhere, but not sure where yet. We'll see.
Okay.
Maybe this is where.
Um, yeah, I completely reworked this, section with Rhonda. It was really, heavy on just a lot of excess verbiage. Yeah. There's one above it too. Will you just, James, will you go to where it starts crossed out and then just,
Except that.
well, no, just, will you just paragraph it down
Oh, sure.
so that they can just read like a clean? Yeah, okay, oh boy.
Like that.
Yes, no, maybe so, questions, comments?
I like it.
Problems? You don't like it?
No, I said no problem.
Stop. I saw it. I heard you say something, but your head was going like this. I wasn't sure.
You say one thing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay, head nods on that all the way around.
So yeah, James, now that that deleted language thing,
It's like that.
yeah.
Oh, we're getting there.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry, it's not my computer.
More have to go.
Couple pages.
You guys want a break?
Yes.
All right, we take a break. Take a break. Come back and do a couple more pages. And
All right, so this section, I'm gonna let Rhonda kind of describe the two accounts, but I'll just give you a quick little overview. So this section is really just describing the two accounts that the board currently has, and essentially just a few line items under each of those accounts, but I want Rhonda to kind of give you all an overview of those two accounts.
So we have the primary funded account, which is our money market account, where we receive our funding money. And then we have our operations account where we make the normal day-to-day operations. And that's a free checking account.
So yeah, there's one, which is the operational account, and two, which is the money market account.
I want to start at A on the operational.
So A is just describing what the account is used for. And then there's where, we designate that if it's under 5,000, it's one signature, and then if it's over that, we'll require two.
I like B.
Automated payments, that's for, like what payroll, services. Just those reoccurring.
Yeah, and I believe that if we wanted to make payments on auto insurance, those would fall into that category unless we wanted to pay up front. So there's a few things that we would have monthly, payments.
Yeah, Ron and I kind of massaged that one. It was, unclear with the original language, so, essentially this is the just proposed, buffer amount of two, monthly cycles. That's getting at, whether funds are available, or if we're short, then obviously we wouldn't go through with an expenditure if the funds were short. And then the last one is just that, the contracted accountant, so Tina, will have access to the operational account for payroll purposes.
Real quick.
Yes.
On that, at least personally, I hope we can get to when we talk about the budget. Is that we can get to where we're estimating and setting an annual operating budget. Right now, I've authorized more than one, probably two or three transfers of funds from the main account to the operational account. If we get to where we're more effectively setting our budget, annual budget, that should limit those transfers. And we should, I'm doing it now, but we should get to the point where should there need to be transfers into the operating budget, that should come back to the board. I mean, I've authorized a couple of because we could, but we need to get to the point where the budget is set. We operate within that budget, and should we have to get to the point where we transfer additional money, that should come to the board. And ideally, we should never get to the point where we have to transfer additional money. Operation, we should estimate that budget, set it, and operate in a year. That's where I'd like to see us get to.
And in number two, we did set it up that it is set by the board. So I would come to you guys and let you guys know what we had in our bank accounts, what we had coming up, and you guys would set the amount to be transferred. We also removed some language too about 15% adjustments. We cleaned that up because I would like any transactions to be to the penny. I believe that the thought process in number two is to leave as much money as we possibly can in the money market account to bear interest. And so I think that that's where it's kind of been set up. And we can streamline that as we get the budget set up and know what our monthly expenditures are going to be moving forward.
Yeah, so the only other thing is that last paragraph, and it's just essentially delineating who has full access and who has just, like view only or read only access to the accounts.
So what's the difference between view or read only?
Essentially the same thing, read only or view, probably we can go with one or the other. I believe in the banking world, they just call it read only, but it's essentially you can get on and you can view what's happening, but you do not possess the ability to make or initiate any sort of transactions. And it's really, essential if we need to assign access to perform an audit or an extension of finance or something that they would have read-only access. And I believe the way it's set up now is every board member currently has read-only access.
I'd say take out view or
Any questions on that section?
Good. Good, all right.
I'm not to delete the deleted language that we. Yeah, all of that. What? Yeah, okay. It just, yep. There you go. Okay, so these are just little, additional policies that didn't quite fit under those other sections and, but needed to be, fleshed out a little bit more. So first one, that was updated was based on the board's decision to alter the fiscal year. So starting October 1 and ending September 30.
I think we did that.
Yep. That was good. I didn't change purchasing. I didn't think it was or needed to be changed. Same with collection of funds. Billing, just added in a little bit more language here, so, we need to have the, on a couple of spots there. Five, Ron and I flushed this one out a little bit more, got rid of some of the original language, just thought it was a little too wordy. Generally, this is getting at, that there needs to be documentation for, any sort of, collection, expense, purchase, whatever, and then that, any of the refunds will be processed by check, or money order, yep, or money order.
And maybe, retention of deposits, Red Tail Accounting did suggest just recently at our budget meeting under 5 that the person reconciling the deposit should probably not be the person taking them to the bank, just for a separation of duties.
Quick question. Currently, we're not doing refunds for applicants on a filing fee. If there's a filing fee mistake or something like that, we don't have a way to do refunds. I'm just wondering if this policy applies to applicants who may need to get a refund.
So the language on the end of number 5 is refunds must be processed by check, and that would be processed through the finance department with proper documentation. So that's trying to allow for refunds to happen. If we,
For anyone, not on the staff. For applicants who are applying for a water rate application, if they use the. if they
Yes,
give us
yeah,
500 and
if
so
we
forth.
deposited their check and they need a refund, finance would process the refund by check.
But you're saying we currently don't do refunds.
We currently do not have a way to do refunds for the public, so this sounds like this will happen.
Has anyone requested a refund?
There's a couple of situations where a refund would have been nice to have as an option, but it's not common.
So we were, so I'm clear, we weren't doing refunds as a matter of policy or a matter of function.
I'm not sure if it was ever written. I don't think it was written. I think it was more of an office policy that we just wouldn't do refunds.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think we need to be able to do refunds. That's the way to keep public trust up where it should be, right? If we make a mistake, we need to take the foul on it, so. That's how I feel anyway. If I paid a lot of money and it wasn't my fault that something went sideways, I'd want my money back. So I like that we have this avenue now.
Are there? Is anybody still asking for a refund?
Not unless something gets, out of whack, like if they apply for the wrong thing. Typically, what is the most common is they'll apply for an individual domestic allowance, and then they realize after further review that there should have been a substitute, something like that. There's slight differences in the final fees there.
And that happens if they do it online?
No, we currently don't have a way to accept any, application.
So if they're doing that, they're not consulting with us because they should have won the pay.
Yeah, exactly. That happens sometimes if we receive it by mail or.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what we need. Thank you.
okay.
Okay. As you're thinking about number 5, what's on number 4? The last sentence, what am I missing? Invoices will,
To be honest, this was left over from the original. We're not sure exactly where it came from, and so I think the discussion was we were gonna leave it in and let you guys decide. Maybe Haley has some input on that.
I don't, I mean, it's language that I didn't think was positive or negative, it's just kind of there for use. If the board wants to take that, we can also change the language to it too. I think it's more so getting at, that certain invoices, and I think the original language was trying to get at those purchases or invoices that were over that $3,000 amount that required that board approval. And so essentially, it's just meaning that they weren't being documented or approved until the board actually saw it and approved it in a public meeting. I'm gonna guess that's what it was.
if that's the sideboard, we should clarify because this says, according to this, all invoices shall not be submitted until. And that was what I'm reading it that way. So, does that mean we're gonna start having to free all invoices? Which it says.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I think we left it. It's more so, do we wanna flush this out or do we wanna just?
Well, I'm
Makes sense.
pushing the flush. You guys wanna keep it or flush it?
Did you say?
Yeah.
Should we get rid of it? No, I'm just asking.
Don't flush the whole thing.
I was just asking about the last sentence.
You get the pleasure if you do that.
I was just asking about that last sentence.
I mean, yeah, to be honest, I don't know what the origin of it is, but that would be my assumption.
Just an artifact of
It's,
something.
yeah. There was some of that in here that I kind of just like, after talking about it with Rhonda, that we kind of just left it in and then the board wanted to have a discussion on it, we could definitely do that.
So then it says director shall prepare invoices to submit to the compacting parties. What invoices are those? Are we required to invoice them for our funding?
No. We're required to submit like the monthly and the annual budgets.
But not invoices.
So what does that mean?
Can
That
we,
beats me.
we can flush that too then.
Well, I'm just, after reading it, I'm just wondering, you know, what, as in the next sentence says, director coordinate engineer to develop a force to be submitted to the compacting party.
And that was something that I had added in there,
Yeah.
because that.
That one we probably need.
Well, that aligns with the authority that was granted to both the engineer and the budget and finance team. Was that the engineer is gonna kind of be the figurehead to discuss those requirements with the compacting parties, but the budget and finance team is the one who's actually gonna prepare the reports. So,
So that second sentence is
again, an artifact.
needed, not needed?
It's confusing.
No, I mean, I think if we wanna keep it in there, I would suggest changing it to the director will prepare the reports to submit to the compacting parties. And then leave in the director shall coordinate with the engineer to develop the reports to be submitted, just, it's adding that the responsibility to prepare it is under that, but then it's also the coordination with the engineer. So I don't think we need to get rid of it, we could just change it.
Change that word.
Okay, how do you want to keep?
The director will prepare, I don't like generally. Second line, James.
Should never use that word.
Really? And then instead of all invoices, do the reports.
Can we change the title of that from billing to something else?
I don't know, all people in this are section.
It's like two separate things. There's reports.
This is probably towards the end when I just didn't want to delete anymore, so apologies. that
No
this is
worries.
like-
Oh,
No, I'm
No
realizing this is like two different thoughts here, so.
I'll ignore it. So like accounting and reporting.
Yeah, that is.
Okay. Well, there's generally again coming up on 5.
Well, if we do it this way, then that first sentence doesn't really belong there.
Well, I think it does, because I think what that is getting at is that the director needs those collection and reimbursement of fund documents in order to prepare the
Oh,
reports.
okay,
And
okay.
so that needs to be submitted in a timely fashion in order to make the
Okay.
report. But we could add in, you know, like all paperwork necessary for the collection reimbursement of funds. Yeah, for purposes of preparing the reports or something like that.
Maybe start off the sentence for the purposes of preparing reports.
okay, now it's really going the whole bit, because when it started off with billing, I just thought we were talking about making sure that the invoices gets sent out kind of.
Yeah, and we'll
Just
probably
like
need to
something
add, we'll probably need to add a new billing section because it was really two thoughts combined into
Okay.
one section. That's what I was trying to get at is It's just an oversight after deleting too many things. Um. I mean, if we're getting at that last sentence that was in there, could be like board approved. Invoices or expenditures or purchases shall be submitted to. The director in a timely manner. Something like that.
So just because what is the title of this whole section?
Just additional policies.
So when we say billing, who are we saying is responsible?
The budget and finance team.
It's kind of really confusing, number 3 in the report, to be honest, because we are a at service type of payment. We don't invoice later. We don't allow anybody to, create a tab for their future work. And then we don't really have a collection of funds because of that. We usually are pretty straightforward. We just pay for goods and services and we pay the fees. So is the billing, is it actually language for invoicing the compacting parties to receive funding? Is that what the language was getting at originally?
I think that's what.
I'd like to think about it, we should check because it was crazy, but if I remember right, we had to submit an invoice
That's
to get our funding. Didn't make any sense, so they asked us to do it.
that might be where,
So. Not sure if what we want to do with this today, we should verify that.
No, I think it,
Look, Melissa used to come in and sit in on our meetings online, and she's not on there, she was on there, I've asked her, but I don't.
no, and. I think we have a monthly responsibility for funding. And I can't remember if it was titled invoices or if it was reports or whatever.
Yeah, I don't, anyway, it's
Yeah.
just something that crossed my mind, and I thought, because I thought the same thing. But I would. Like, remember why,
Yeah,
or if we were gonna have to do invoices in the future, I don't know for that funding.
I don't see anything under the funding agreements about. So not really, it says that, that the funding. They'll deposit the money in our account. So,
yeah, and I just ran through it too. I don't see invoices in particular. There is a section 9 on reports.
Yeah.
But there's nothing specifically about invoices submitted,
and as far as there's a section on disbursement
right? Yeah.
for,
Well, push comes to shove, and they want the invoice from us, we'll do it.
yeah, we'll do it.
But we may not need this section, I mean, if we're not doing it together, I mean, that's, we just, for the purposes, say billing and then just put the reserve or something on it. And we need to add it later, we can add language later, we can.
so this is the linking I had in the paperwork that we received. And I don't know if that's something in the invoice, but it's just a proof of payment from.
I almost suggest just taking it out completely instead of saying reserved. And then if we need to, we can just amend.
That's fine,
Yeah.
yeah, that's either way, that's fine. Let's do that. And if the board's okay with that, let's do that. Okay,
Well, so then accounting and reporting would, I don't, does that need to be in there too? Do you wanna keep this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep that part, it's a little different thing.
Yeah. It is.
and for necessary function of reimbursement of funds. Should be submitted to Google and type of action.
Yeah, it should be submitted to the director. So let's write that in there. And then,
In,
yeah. Yeah.
and then that, again, that second and third sentence, we need both.
No, you can combine it. So. The director will prepare and. Will prepare the reports and coordinate with the engineer. Yeah. Well, I want to use the sheet for purposes of preparing reports, not for the purposes. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we talked about 5. Were there any questions with 5?
I have some edits.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So in the first sentence, Roger, do you want to take out generally? Okay. And in the sentence starting with any refunds, I would get rid of any and just say refunds must be processed by check, period. Appropriate documentation for the refund. I don't know, I would rework that. Appropriate documentation. Detailing the refund to the appropriate individual or entity must also be provided. To the appropriate individual or entity must be provided.
So how does refunds go in with retention and deposits? Concept, seems like you're talking about two different things.
Again, that was just a leftover title.
Funds would be remitted for deposit.
It'd just be deposits and refunds instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the language is broad enough, right, to address James' concern for refunding applicants? Okay.
So my question is the first sentence. Or weekly, not daily.
We don't really have an extensive amount of checks to be distributed. There's some days we do not have any for deposit, and so we would like to just do it at the end of the week. And we, when it had language in there to 750, that was only 3 checks, and so then we would be depositing it a little bit more often. But for security purposes, we now have an official deposit stamp with our checking account number on the back. So when they are received, then we actually claim them for fraud purposes. So then nobody else can cash them.
Do we have a say?
We do not at this time. We are putting them under lock and key every day with access to those who are processing the application.
Do we have a fireproof file cabinet?
We do not. They were estimated to be a little over $9,000.
I think we need one or the other. I don't think we can do it out.
I think a safe would be the best cheaper alternative, like a Cabela's fire rated, safe, something that can get tied to the floor or too heavy to pack off. But the fireproof, filing cabinets were the big portion of our budget.
Even the smallest.
I don't know, I didn't compare, I just asked the cost, and so I didn't know if there was more than one size, I didn't ask.
Even though it doesn't say retention, if we're only submitting deposits weekly, we're retaining, so we need to have something. So I think we should say.
I agree. I think we need something, but I was thinking of the language, so. I'm just thinking of a situation, you might have several checks come in on a Monday. Do we need language to say we wouldn't hold checks for more than 24 hours? I mean, if it's a Monday, you should be able to get it to the bank the next day, or no, is that too
There's some,
restrictive?
there's some instances where the staff needs more than a day to process the applications.
Okay.
And so sometimes there's that goes on because there's uncertainties with the check that they look through the application. So I think that
Oh, that's right.
we kind of hang on to the most a person would have per individual application is $250.
Okay,
So a very, very, very busy week would probably be around 1,000 at the most. So we're not looking at
got some.
right for
Okay.
now, knock on wood. It might just change tomorrow, but as of right now,
Okay,
Yeah, I second what Rhonda just said. There's like this adequate to process step that surprisingly is not that simple sometimes. And so we, like, for instance, we just got one today, we have to postpone the tribal water rights registration office, and so we're holding to that check.
so it could take a while.
It could take, 1 week gives us some nice flexibility.
Gotcha,
Oh.
okay, so we need something to stick them in.
Yeah, and then the other question I have is, the moment you stamp them, are we electronically documenting everything so that everything is instantaneously available, so that, God forbid, there's some catastrophe, there's at least a record somewhere showing that we've got.
so we're doing a couple things right now. The staff is entering them into an Excel spreadsheet of the check number, the application, and other information. I think it's dependent on the person that drops off the check and also the person that's on the application. So there's a couple different factors there. We just recently got custom printed receipt books that the staff is now using. Each person has a signed receipt book that they enter in all their information. So that's a second part. They have a 2-part receipt. So then that receipt stays in the staff's book, and then they have the ability to give the receipt to the person, the applicant. Then when we deposit, we stamp it. As soon as it hits the money box, every check is then claimed as FRWMB property to that account. So if they were taken and brought to a bank, the only thing that could happen was they would deposit into our account. There's no other options but that. Nobody can cash it. And then once it's deposited, we have a digital record at the bank.
Once it's in QuickBooks, though, is that,
The QuickBooks will have a different, another receipt.
but that documentation is there, my question is that physically here, or does QuickBooks also create a,
QuickBooks is cloud-based
Oh, okay.
online. So we also have it.
so if something
Yeah, so
happen and we, lose everything, fire or something,
absolutely, and
it's there,
QuickBooks
okay.
is maintained with Tina and Rentelli County also.
Okay.
So we have that outside, it's online, cloud-based, and Tina has.
That part's covered, but yeah, we need to save for or something.
Well,
Probably
yeah,
save.
you can go to Costco, they have those sentry safes there that have a certain fire rating and that are pretty common, and they're not $9,000. So,
Well, we could look and try to recommend something. Gotta be appropriate.
oh yeah, like Cabela's has, gun safes.
Cabela's.
For everything from pistols to rifles, so,
And
check
I
it out.
believe Murdoch's does too. The limitations are as Cabela's and Murdoch's are not gonna deliver. So depending on the size, we might just need some money.
You got a pickup now.
We do have a pickup now.
I actually
Oh.
did buy a safe from Murdoch's, I did deliver.
They did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There is a safe store in Folsom.
Yeah.
There is?
Right there.
Did not
Yeah.
get
Did
that.
not know that.
Been, yeah, it's still there, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so some options.
And then while all those are true, do me a favor at least and contact the tribal funding office and ask for a recommendation on a safe.
And I know you directed me
Financial
before
state.
with that,
Correct.
great.
Just say, we're just exploring options here. What would be a good recommendation for a financial security safe? You might have a one, maybe, or they might say the same thing. I'll just go to Cabela's and pick one up.
Ron,
I
that's
don't
just
know.
a regular size filing cabinet. The fireproof one. It's
It was a 4-drawer lateral, I believe,
Yeah.
where you could, and it was 9,000.
Well, they were probably, it might have been probably, like you said, lateral, so they're probably
30,
that wide.
Oh,
36
That's all.
inches.
yeah. Bill,
Yeah,
just.
yeah. And I don't think we need a filing cabinet.
Need like a little work.
That size, and maybe for other records, maybe eventually, but for this financial stuff.
If you want us to maintain personnel records, it would be a good idea that those are also under that fire safe.
The fireproof filing cabinet would be good for that. The safe, though, we'll probably want to make sure we get something for the financial. That'd be my thought. Since it's probably gonna be more than $5,000, we'll see it again.
Yes.
And the retention of that can actually be fleshed out in like the personnel policies. Because we actually have a record retention policy in that document. Six was one that, Rhonda requested, so.
So I requested, original receipts. It's easier for me to scan and convert them to PDF and also maintain them for audit purposes. So I've requested if anytime for purchases or employee per diem reimbursements or anything along that line, that the original receipts are provided to finance.
I like that. That's what they have to do with SKC too.
Is it 3 days or 5 days?
What's that?
Is it 3 days or 5 days though?
I think we have a shorter time frame. We have to get that in.
or it gets lost.
Yeah, they want that very quick,
No.
so.
Okay.
This one here, people do often ask if they would take cash, and we do have to send them to the post office to get a money order. That does happen.
Gotcha.
But yes, I mean, the policy was, or the idea behind that policy was so that there's no petty cash being kept here, and to avoid theft or break-ins, so.
Probably put a sign on the door too, no cash on premises.
Has there ever been a problem?
No, we have a solution for people, just say go walk into the post office with their money order.
It is also posted on all of the applications as well, right? Most of them, if not all. I know I've seen it on a lot of applications I've reviewed.
Okay.
There might be like one or two that it's not on, or that we maybe forgot to put that on, but, I know I've seen it on applications before. So, scroll down.
Just take that
Oh, that
one.
was just changing the language, so that's all that was, that setting can be approved too, right above. No, so I would go. Okay, good. You wanna talk about accounts receivable? Just give a little update.
The accounts receivable, I'm pretty sure that that would just be directed at the funding sources. I can't foresee or think of any other accounts receivable that we would have.
Nine was getting at, I think I mentioned this earlier, but, if we're gonna go out and look for something, we just talked about the safe, looking for local businesses or services before outsourcing to larger corporations. Essentially, or something in Helena or Billings or what have you.
And my personal policy could be in writing, but I usually try to balance everything out with three, bits or three examples. And we always try to support local first, and they may not be the cheapest. So that is also just taken into account that we try to, help small businesses.
But this is where I thought we could add in maybe that language about, just obtaining multiple assessments or invoices, or quotes, sorry,
Yeah.
from those businesses. So if you wanted to put 3 on there, we could.
Well, we're allowing purchases of up to 5,000. That would be anything over 5,000. Maybe there's a range where you want to require, quotes,
I would say,
and maybe a range, larger range where you have to require written bids. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking is those ranges, but we have to set those ranges. What were you thinking?
I was thinking anything less than 1,000 would probably fall into the categories of just office supplies or large office orders. So anything over 1,000 should be reasonably, quoted at 3. As for the rest of it, for written bids, that would be up to you guys. Possibly over 5,000 is a written bid.
Well, we've got the $5,000 limit set above, you could say 5,000 or less requires, at least 3 quotes. Anything over 5,000 requires written bids.
So under 9. Yep, add on to them.
Anything over that?
Anything less than that.
For purchases or expenditures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Requires 3 votes.
One of them has to be greater than or less, right?
Would the board consider anything less than 1,000 to not need 3 quotes? Because we tend to have some limitations right now, so we're doing office supplies off of Amazon, and I know that's not the best, that we don't have office supplies offered locally.
So 1,000 or less, no quotes required? What was your suggestion?
That's my suggestion, yes.
1,000 less?
1,000 or less, no quote required. And so we
Well, according to my students, it costs $200 to wake up now and $1,000 just to leave the house. So
Wow.
it's hard to get anything under that anymore,
Yes.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Say, any purchase of less than,
Any purchase?
Yeah.
Oh, out of ignorance,
Yeah.
what's the difference between a written quote and a bid? Excuse me, a quote and a
I can pick up
written
a
bid.
phone call and call someone, I mean, in my practice has always been to get 3 quotes, you just pick up the phone call and they can tell you what it is, you can write it down and you can reference them.
Okay,
And then it goes beyond that, you can get them written, so they have to actually submit something to you in writing that says what the cost is. That way it demonstrates, we're not only getting documentation, but it demonstrates what we're trying to do.
okay, I just want to know the difference between the two. So one's verbal and one can be verbal, the other one must be written,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know if we should limit it to just verbal though.
I don't think we need to say verbal,
Right.
I'm just suggesting that that's an option.
Only because like, one of the things on here, you know, for like the apparel, they sent in a written one, even though I don't think you technically needed it because it's less than 5, right?
Sure. Informal.
Okay, time, Rhonda, will you explain the requisition forms since this is, you'll be seeing these?
Yeah. We have 2 types of requisition forms right now that we're using, and we have one developed just recently for the board, and the board, I believe, seen all that in the email. And that's just outlining the things that have been approved by the board recently for compensation. So it breaks everything down, and we, instead of going onto this spreadsheet where it has everybody, we're gonna go onto a per board member per month. And so it'll just be easier for reporting moving forward and for tax purposes. Cause it will make it so we don't have to break that out. We're also going to try to continue to use that travel requisition form that we just created for employee travel and compensation. And this is probably talking directly about just our requisition forms, which we do have available through finance, and for somebody who wants to. Sorry, I should have brought the glasses today. So,
PRs are pretty common practice in most institutions,
So
especially
for-
government.
yeah, and we have the forms available with finance for any purchase requests.
So if we're gonna go with requisition forms and travel requisition forms. Are we going to, have them printed and registered? With their number? And that way we keep track of them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And whatever.
We can do that. We can have them a consecutively numbered, just like we would a check register for each requisition form for accountability. Absolutely.
And I don't know, if we create those, we have to buy them, and just,
Right now, Christie has created a beautiful form. Christie, do you have something else on your requisition forms?
oh.
Yeah. So, this was recently added, mainly because there's been like surplus equipment or goods that's kind of just piled up in this office and we haven't really had a policy of what to do with it.
Yeah, I know, is that some of the furniture we're trying to,
Yes,
that no one wants?
yes.
I can't imagine why not.
I do have a use for the oak desk if you guys make a decision.
Well, it's, that kind of stuff gets to be burdensome. And especially with that donated stuff, I know we tried to get documentation that they said, and I don't know if they provided it or not, but if they don't,
my recommendation is say, well, we attempted to contact you, our understanding is. You know, email, our understanding is. We can dispose of. At will, we just send it to them, that way it's at least documented. And then, so we can either start giving stuff away or. Other institutions actually have an annual auction where they put the stuff up to auction and auction them off. However you guys want to do it, I think we can do that, but we should think about that. I don't know how much more stuff there is that's collecting, but as it collects.
From my understanding, we have, some sound equipment that was donated that's in James's
Yes.
closet and. That I don't think anybody, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, we have just some leftover, tech equipment that was, I think, donated by the state. But I'm not sure if we reach out with the state, see if they want that back.
You know, I would say it's kind of a arbitrary decision. I mean, like that stuff. That's hard to give away.
I was gonna say, winter's coming, there's some firewood. over
Yeah.
here, so-
Like Jay said, put it down on the corner with the free sign on it. But,
Here you go.
That's funny.
but, other stuff that might have some value, it seems like we should at least make an effort to put it on some sort of website and see if it would sell.
You
It's
can
a-
put it all on a site and say, any stuff you want to say was, free for the taking, list is free, and anything you want to put a dollar amount on, put a dollar amount on. But that means we've got to manage that then too.
Yeah,
And you know, I'm not real good at putting that stuff on the website. Maybe you guys have time really doing that.
And I know that Facebook Marketplace is really popular, but then it puts us out there to really have unreliable. People that are gonna say they're gonna show up and they're not gonna show up. I do know that with the desks and just the desks. We've reached out to local, thrift stores and they all said no. So, we don't have a good place to go with
That's
that.
not a good sign.
It's
when the-
not.
When the thrift store won't take your
Yeah.
stuff. It's like,
They absolutely did not want us to even bring it to them. They said it's too big, it's not something. I did talk to Connolly, who has been doing the cubicles, and asked him since he's a used furniture store, and he said, no, something like that just doesn't move, and I don't have room in my warehouse. And so we've tried to figure out any avenue, and we were hoping that the tribe would take it back, but nobody seems to be available to talk to us.
You're
Oh,
like,
I
yeah,
don't
it
think
worked.
talking
We got
about
rid
it.
of our stuff.
Let me check on it.
I sent an email and I'm just waiting for a reply. Sorry.
Okay. Who's, who do you email?
Juanita Christie,
James
I think she's the one at the front.
Are they out at Kicking Horse now?
Yeah,
Well, they also have a disposal process though.
yeah.
And nothing else, maybe they take it to go and dispose of it. But let's find out, yeah. If you have trouble, let me know, I'll see what I can help.
Thank you.
Is that,
There's also the Restore as well in Kalispell that takes large items like this. I'd have to inventory it for you.
Oh, there's one in, that's right, there's one in Missoula.
yeah, but you gotta be careful. I've tried to take stuff there before and then they look at it. No, we don't want that. It all depends upon. what
To
it is.
Kalispell?
Yeah.
I've taken stuff to the one in Missoula
Mhm.
and been successful, you just donate, it's at the donation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, many things sometimes they'll take it and actually dispose of it on their property too. Just take it off your hands.
So Rhonda, that was tribal to start with,
Mhm.
so property and supply would come get it.
Okay, I
That's
was,
what they're trying to find out, they're not getting a
Right.
response, so
Okay,
if you don't get a response, let us know.
we're trying, it would solve a problem.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
why don't you guys maybe, when you have a minute, work up a little surplus property policy?
yeah.
So we can move on.
Yeah. Makes sense. You guys like this? Yes. Thank you.
So that, I mean, that's what 11 is getting at. I left it broad because it could be a whole bunch of different avenues that we could pursue, but what it mainly does is it allows the director to make the ultimate decision. So it's not that any staff member could go out and sell it on their own, or any board member could. It has to be funneled through the budget and finance team.
Yeah,
And there's also an option, instead of disposing or selling, I mean, we could donate too, so
Yeah.
taking it to the restore or something like that to donate. Okay. 12 is, I mean, it's a lot of deletion in there, it's one sentence, yeah, go ahead. So it should say the director. Essentially, this is just saying, that the director will prepare budget reports to be discussed under the budget, and it should be budget update. I didn't know what it was actually titled on our agenda, so
well, the other,
not that one.
and if we haven't, somewhere. We need. We need a budget document that we approve.
To do that, like a live bank balance for that day of that meeting also.
No, I'm talking about a budget,
Okay.
an annual budget form that has all the elements of a budget on it. And we need to do that.
Well, and that's happening. We met with Tina last Friday, and she has a list of all the cost categories now. And we went over all the personnel with her, so she knew where to fill all that in. And so she's working on it. She told us she would have us something in a week or two. So,
That's, you know, whenever that is, I just think that we keep saying we're gonna have budget reports, yeah, but we need a budget to start with.
right,
And I think that ties into the idea of having an annual budget that we create and fund within the operating budget, so that we don't have to continually draw off of the money market account. It's just, the goal would be to set it once and not have to overexpend. But to set a budget, you know. 'Cause I think we all have different thoughts about what a budget is. I think we need to agree on what that is and approve them. It's not just where we're at any given time with our money. It's where we're at any given time with our money based on what budget we set.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, you know, I'm preaching to the choirs. That's what's.
Good sermon. Keep preaching.
Yes. The last two are essentially just, I mean, it's just establishing the requirements under the funding agreement. So the funding agreement lays out monthly financial reports and yearly financial reports. And so that's what the last two are. Yeah. We see that in the director online.
So
That's it.
this puts us in a position to put this out to public, that we're doing.
Yes.
Did you go back to the very last paragraph? Yeah, you got a couple of directors or those.
Yeah. No. In the very first. We'll clean up the track changes, but yeah, it's ready for board action.
And we're ready for public comment. Okay, any public
no public in the audience physically here, for the record, so anybody online?
Well, if you want. If you'd like to make a public comment, you can raise your hand or I'll allow you to speak. Yeah. Seeing no public.
Seeing none. If you're ready, we'll take a motion to approve this for, how long do we send it?
15 days.
For 15-day public comment period.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised resolution 1. Entitled fiscal and procurement cost policy.
Motion by Roger,
Second.
second by Ken, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any none were approved? Good.
It's working.
So, folks, it's 5 o'clock. I'm reading the time, right? I can go till 5:30, but not beyond. So we were scheduled till 5, so what do you guys want to do?
I can go to 5:30.
Same.
5:30? That's good, okay. Well, let's marshal on till 5:30. And then we'll call it quits. Consideration of vehicle policy. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So, we recently, part of our budget update was going to be that we have obtained our first vehicle out of the And so everybody's super excited. That brand new rig out front needs some insurance. We have a need to kind of expedite this. They have their first field visit
Did
tomorrow.
you look at it, well, obviously, if we bought it, so you were in agreement, obviously, if we bought it, so.
Yep.
Ken liked it.
I did.
Couldn't get him to drive it. Rhonda liked it, she was hot rodding around.
Cornering on 2 wheels with Main Street
Absolutely.
running.
Gravel flying.
Roads.
Yeah.
So, anyway, good, so we need an insurance, so.
How did it do on the power slides?
Oh, it was just handled amazing. Yeah, sure.
Okay, we need insurance.
So what we have is, we have 2 different quotes. We have, the first quote from March McLennan. And that is a progressive quote, because they, are kind of like a outsourcer. So that is for a full premium 12-month cycle. And that includes all drivers. If you notice that we have the OE that's not listed, it's not because he's not going to be added, it's just because he's not gonna affect the cost of insurance. And so when he gets off of vacation, he'll be immediately added to this policy. So,
Why do we have to be off vacation to add him to the policy?
because we need his driver's license,
Oh.
social security number, and since he's on vacation, I didn't want to reach out to him.
Yeah.
So he didn't make a difference in the quote.
Yeah.
So the McLennan policy says progressive on it.
And, monthly premium is $38.49, is that unreading?
If you do payment by mail, the first payment would be, it looks like they're charging the different options. So I think that we would fall into the category of one payment, unless you guys opted to do monthly. We actually save money if we just pay up front for insurance.
And what is that?
So the monthly payment, or for the pay in year would be $31.96 for the full year, including all drivers.
And what's the cost on the other?
So the other one is offered by State Farm. And State Farm has 2 different policies set. We do have one driver that is not quite 21, or not 25, sorry, my mistake. My apologies. But that's only temporary. And so we'll have a little bit more of an increase over the policy for the first 6 months. And then after that, our policy would be cheaper. So the first policy is gonna be 1979.04 for 6 months with a driver under 25, and the second policy would be 12/29/62 without that driver on there.
Without the driver on there or with the driver being over 25?
Same thing.
Okay.
So either all drivers are gonna be over 25 or that driver won't be listed for the 12/29/62.
So two questions. One. The progressive. You pay an annual. And on an annual basis, it's about $3,200. And does that include everyone?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and so the other quote, the state farm quote, was a 6 month.
Yes.
And I guess if we have all drivers on there, what is the 6 month fee
For all drivers, it would be just shy of 4,000
for? So progressive is.
For 6 months?
for a year.
Yeah, that's a year.
A year, yeah. So it's still progressive is
Progressive is the
less
cheaper alternative.
expensive.
And I forgot to ask, did that come with any warranty?
3 years, 36,000 miles, not bumper to bumper, but I would have to look at the specifications. Limited, yes,
3 years, 36,000, so there's some warranty left on,
yes,
and the current mileage of that vehicle is,
48 or 42. I'd have to, 42 miles.
so it's only got 42 miles on it,
That's all.
that's it.
I have never met a vehicle with that.
And it's a
low
2023.
mileage.
We
Gee,
should get you in it, Karen.
Yeah,
that's a unicorn. I've never seen this before, so.
I think we test drove it, it had 26 miles when we test drove it.
Oh,
How far did you go?
Away. So, just to summarize these policies, both of them have gone through the underwriting approval. Both of them are fully executable as of tomorrow morning, so we can get this done. You just need to give us direction on which one.
Well, sticking with our almost approved policies, we need one more quote. Right?
I had some great difficulty getting these quotes because we are a government entity. It's not like regular, personal vehicle insurance, so I'm open to suggestions if you know some.
Well, if we went with progressive for a year, it's under 5,000, so we don't need three quotes. Well, I guess we need three, yeah.
Well, I was just
The number
suggesting
is-
that, but
right,
I'm
right.
thinking that
Yeah.
if you're having difficulty, the only other thing I would want to see is at least documentation of who we tried to contact. So that we can show that we didn't, you know, these, you have their information. Who else did you try to contact? If that's at least documented, then we can be,
So, I think I left messages, but I couldn't off the top of my head last week tell you 2 other agencies, but, I believe one was here in Ronan and I can't remember. My apologies, but we can still quote it.
I would just say, I mean, if you guys are satisfied, I'd just say a memo that have her put a memo to the file saying, this is what she did to try to get quotes. This is who responded. This is who didn't respond. Have it on the record and then we can just get on this.
Yeah.
And then go for a year and then if you want more research done, then we can get more research done and then within a year, decide if you want to keep it or change it.
Yeah, that's good. And I guess the other reason I was thinking we should go with progressive is because then the individual that's less than 25 is still covered, you drive it, we can move ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so you need action. So is there any public left to comment today?
If you'd like to make a public comment, you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak. Seeing no public comment.
There's nobody in the audience to make public comment. So with that, we need to select insurance for our new vehicle.
I'll make a motion that we, get, based on the quotes and the solicitations, we secure insurance from Progressive. Because they seem to be the most cost effective.
Motion by Roger,
I'll second.
second by Georgia, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We are insured. Going to be. Wow. Is it parked out here?
It is
I
out
didn't
front,
notice,
yep,
Yes.
or I noticed and never paid attention.
it's sitting right in front of our camera.
Oh, there you go. And then that's the other thing is where and how we store that thing, we'll have to.
So George,
Yes,
um,
Sydney, contacted me last week and asked if they could, park it over with our fleet of vehicles, and I told her it would be fine.
Okay, that's
Parked outside, and we got cameras all over with safety dams.
we probably want to do a written thing to make sure that it's clear, but, and I imagine that won't be there. You know, it'll be here when you need it, and when you don't need it, weekends and holidays and that, it'd be parked someplace like that, so I would just cover it by maybe a written MOU, something like that.
That'd be,
Yeah.
I would,
festival maybe.
I would think that we want to do it and they'll want to do it for, also for insurance purposes, because if it's parked in their lot,
Maybe,
you know, we want to make sure that we're covered, so.
that would be in Casey, then maybe.
I don't know, so you have suggestions on a proper document for that, we should do that, otherwise that's just a thought, so maybe look with.
And I think I actually put it through it myself too.
And then figure out who to contact there with the MOU. Or agreement or letter of agreement or something saying. They agreed.
Maybe through Rich, or by Rich.
Yeah, might be.
so the 3.3 is not mine, so, would you like me to have a seat? for
Let's
that?
see,
Well, 3.3, I think, is gonna be you.
Well,
general liability insurance coverage,
Yeah. So
we changed it.
yeah,
Oh, you did, yeah, sorry, yes, you're right, that is me,
well,
my apologies.
I kind of requested it too. So when I was reviewing for the resolution revisions on all the reporting and whatnot, I got looking at what our insurance requirements were with our funding agreement. And we are required to maintain general liability insurance coverage. Let's see, here it is. With the combined single limits of $1 million per occurrence and $2 million aggregate per year. And so I didn't know if we had this or not, but I texted Ethan, he didn't respond. So then I had Rhonda look into what was secured, and it appears that we only have $1 million aggregate coverage. So she talked to the Bishop Insurance Agent, Steve. So I think we need to, we need to be in compliance with the funding agreement. And so I think we should get this additional coverage.
So, can we do a couple of things here? Could you, I understand what you're saying. Could you make sure that that's what we need? If that's what we need, then I think if we're already insured with someone, maybe we just bump that up.
Right.
Yeah. And so, we need to figure out what the additional cost would be and decide if it needs board approval and go from there.
So, just for clarification, with Bishop Insurance, the conversation I did have with them today is we have a business owner's policy with them. And when I talked to Marsh McLennan, they said that we would probably fall more along the line of a nonprofit policy. So we have $1 million policy with Bishop, but it's business. They have the ability to change the policy and also add additional $1 million in aggregate for our funding requirement. So we just kind of need to know where you want to go moving forward, but we can get it quoted from both agencies.
What do you guys want to do? Do we need to get quoted from both at least? Or do you want to just, with Bishop, just bump it up?
Well, so this is maybe a question for Haley, but. When we've been speaking with Red Tail, she's kind of looked at us as a nonprofit as far as accounting goes. So I don't know if we need to, I don't know if it's better to get the business coverage or the nonprofit coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would need to know from them, like that agency, what each coverage provides, more so, and then I guess like example entities that might kind of fall under each one, because there are instances where like government or public agencies do align with like a nonprofit in terms of coverage for
Right.
certain things, but it's not always the way it works out. So it would be best to hear from the agency that we currently have coverage with, just to see if we would be within that category.
And then the other one as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, that's fine. It is a requirement under the funding agreement. I've already looked at
Okay.
that section. And I've had conversations with Ethan about it before. Just hasn't been sought out, so.
Okay, well, let's seek out the numbers, right?
Both agencies are going to require an application be completed by, I believe, yourself and Roger, or on behalf of the board. For, DNO, if you guys are interested, and as of the nonprofit, I believe that's fairly straightforward, we can quote that. So DNO is in addition to directors and officers for the board having insurance. If you wanted to have that as an addition.
For right now, just go with the business or nonprofit, because there's liability from suit for staff, directors, managers, board members. It would be the actual entity that would be sued, not the individuals.
So my finishing thought would be if you work with Haley, come up with the quotes from both of those and get them back to us, and maybe we can take action at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Kind of, if we can have it ready for the, by then. Okay,
I just think it's important so that
yeah, that's a good catch, right? You know,
when we
that's
get our,
good.
when we're ready to do our, well, it should have been built into our budget, but
Yeah,
when we're ready to get our final this budget report out, then we can also demonstrate we're in compliance with all the other.
That we've done it now.
Also.
Exactly.
that's a good catch. Thank you.
Very good catch.
All right, that was three, anything else on 3.3? Anything else on 3.3? Okay, we good? Okay. 3.4. Org chart.
Yeah, I mean, just generally, it just kind of reorganize it based off of what, board members expressed with the, financial personnel. So, I mean, obviously that name will change, given what we just did with the resolution. So that kind of fuchsia box would be budget and finance team. And then depending on how you want to reorganize the position descriptions, the name of the actual position. I had finance technician on, I think, the example that I provided, but if we want it to be the budget and finance director, then that can easily change too. So that, the only thing I'll say is, so the arrows don't necessarily mean that they someone falls under that category for terms of employment. It means workflow or direction received.
That's a lot of arrows.
We're just a web of just interworking communication and.
That's right.
One thing, yeah, I guess Roger's at the old one.
Yeah,
Okay, I will say one thing that is significantly different from the old one is I removed all the contracted services because I don't think that falls or should fall under an organizational chart. The only one I kept is myself. So I'm just special like that.
yeah, this is a lot different than what I thought. Okay.
But at some point, if we want, let's say, all right, we want to see a list of all our contracts. We've got that. Okay.
So for purposes of this, would you like me to change the fiscal personnel box to say budget and finance team?
That makes sense. Yeah, that's what we just did. Sure.
Okay, and then do we want to just keep the description of those two employees as is for now, or do we want to come revisit that? Do we want to revisit that with the director?
Yeah, I think we
Position.
need to revise that one for sure. So, and I'll get you my comments.
Okay, perfect. That was all I have with this.
You want, action on this?
No, no, this is just for your use and reference. So if you're okay with it,
Yeah. Questions?
I'm good.
Just one, and I don't know
Yep.
if this is the right time to ask it, but,
for
Ethan's original position description included budget and finance. Now that we've changed that, do we need to revise his PD?
That's a good point.
You're already working on it.
I had it flagged. Yeah,
Okay.
no, but that's a great catch. It's just a good mental reminder for myself. But yeah, I have a list of documents that we need to change.
Anything else? George? Okay. No, okay. You got 2 minutes. What do you want to do?
Would you like a quick budget update?
Let's do it.
Okay. So on Friday, we reviewed our funding agreement with Red Tail. And we also had some, clarification needed to help her get going on working out the budget summary. She's hoping to get that done in a couple weeks, just like Roger had stated earlier. We've had some purchases, we've already mentioned the truck, and we also had additional cubicle walls. We do now have a spare workstation set up. Red Tail has requested the use a company laptop when she's here, if that's possible, to set this workstation up with its own laptop. So, she had access to QuickBooks while she's on site for training and other purposes. And that's about it. Hopefully I didn't get all the 2 minutes.
No, but by the time we meet again, I'm just gonna suggest that we do get to the best of the ability and status on where we're at with the operating budget numbers. Totals,
By
And
October
the-
9th.
yeah, and the money market account total, where we're at. And that, those total numbers, those big numbers where we're at.
For budget 2023, 2024.
Yeah, current. Just so we can see them right now, it'd be good time to see them.
Hopefully she'll have something ready for us by then.
Yeah.
I'm sure hoping.
It is 5:30. I know there's a few more items here, are we good to stop here? You guys wanna?
I'm good.
Touch base on any of this? Any more questions? Comments? Concerns? Food? Anything?
Can the 2 items left on this be added to next month's agenda, October 9th?
Yes, please.
Any final public comments? Anybody left online?
Just that's in person. If you have a public comment, raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak. Seeing no public comment.
Okay, next meeting is October 9. And then it said 16 or 17. Did we ever resolve that?
I'm not available on the 16th of October. That's preview day on campus and it's all hands on deck for that. So
Or does that mean you're okay with the 17th?
I could be here on the 17th.
Okay,
I don't know. At this point,
should we tentatively set the 17th, or do you guys want to look at a different date?
yeah, 17th fine, I just don't know.
Roger?
Thursdays are bad for me. What about the 15th? Is that a possibility? That's Tuesday.
The 15th.
The 17th is the first day of the oral arguments in the water court for the motions for adequacy and fairness.
And
Which
you're gonna be there.
I'm probably gonna go watch, depending on how public it is.
Do they stream those? I wanna watch that.
They should be,
Oh, really?
it's in the federal courthouse in Missoula. Which is not that big, so we'll see, they might have one courtroom open for the public just to watch.
Would you call it motion?
Motion for adequacy and fairness of the compact, so 17th and 18th.
Yeah,
And so somebody just asked for the 15th, is that what I heard?
yeah.
That whole week I'm gonna be out of town.
Did you say you're out?
Yes,
I can't be here on the 15th.
So. You wanna look at the following week?
sure.
Suggestions?
I'm open all week.
Huh?
I'm open all week.
23rd.
Sure.
Do the truth.
Very good. Whoa,
Look at that.
all right. So, no, so October 9 and October 23. For now, unless things change again. So. Obviously, we didn't get to the executive session, so we'll have to have that for the next one.
Yep.
Okay.
We got 2 things already on the. I'll put it on the agenda.
Yeah, well, it's already got it. Is there any, the board be interested in doing a longer meeting at all? None?
No, it's already quite a bit on.
There's a ton of personnel policies already on.
You wanna- The longer that day, what would be an adequate time frame?
If we could start at 10 AM, take a lunch break. We can get along with that.
I'm in lab till 12:20 on Wednesday.
Leave lunch for you.
That's fine.
That was the meeting the board wanted to have lunch again anyway.
It is.
Oh, it is, and I don't know, yeah. You still wanna try to do that?
Well, yeah, I guess if there's 4 of us here until you're available, we could start at 10, right?
And so, no staff lunch?
Well. I'd just say have a working lunch and work right through. There's not much stuff on the agenda.
Yeah, but not the staff lunch we were talking about, yeah, just,
Maybe get that on the 23rd.
all right, so start at 10. Okay. Working lunch,
We'll provide lunch.
yeah,
Okay. Sandwiches again.
working lunch, yeah.
Okay.
And then,
Stella's, you got it.
we'll go till the cows come home,
Perfect.
Or sundown.
or 5 o'clock, whichever comes first.
It's coming sooner every day.
Shoot for that, is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So. Lunch. All right, any other comments, questions, concerns, issues, motion to adjourn,
Motion adjourned.
motion by Ken,
Second.
second by Roger, all in favor, say aye.
So I tell you a
Thank
quick
you.
funny story.
Thank you.
So when my younger daughter was 16.